welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into some truly fascinating source material about a zero-calorie medicinal sweetener. And honestly, the wildest part about this, it might literally be pushing its way through the frozen ground in your backyard right now. So let's just get right into it. The source kicks things off with a pretty compelling mystery, one that kind of challenges everything we think we know about modern food. It points to this specific plant that tastes remarkably like vanilla and has actually been sweetening human food for 5 centuries. The kicker here? It does this without a single calorie? It's the kind of mystery that makes you rethink every little packet of artificial sweetener you've ever opened. And you know, what makes this even deeper is the plant's extreme resilience. I mean, look at this number. This plant doesn't just barely survive winter, it actively thrives in temperatures dropping to a bone-chilling -40 degrees Fahrenheit. While literally every other herb in the garden is completely dormant, this plant is already breaking through the frozen soil by February. It essentially uses the extreme cold to build its strength. But wait, it gets even more astonishing. The source notes that a single established plant can live and produce harvests for 2 decades. Think about that. 20 years of yielding a zero-calorie sweetener from a simple crack in a garden bed, year after year, completely free and without ever needing to be replanted. That's huge! Section 1. The Science of Sweetness. So, according to the Merck Index, the secret here lies in a specific compound called transanethol. This makes up over 80% of the plant's essential oil, and it's exactly what makes Sweet Cicely taste about 13 times sweeter than refined white sugar by weight. When you cook acidic fruits with it, these molecules physically bind to your taste receptors and just suppress the acidity signal. And the absolute best part? It triggers zero insulin response. None. Which brings us to a really striking nutritional contrast highlighted in the source material. On one side, you have 100 grams of fresh, Sweet Cicely leaves. This gives you a zero-calorie, highly antioxidant-rich profile that actually outperforms your standard salad greens. Then, on the other side, 100 grams of pure white sugar delivers absolutely zero nutrition, 387 calories, and pure metabolic disruption. The source points out that this is exactly the kind of comparison the modern food industry tends to, well, avoid putting on a label. And this brilliantly illustrates the plant's unique biological resilience. Sweet Cicely relies on this biological process called cold stratification. Basically, it needs 3 to 5 months of continuous freezing temperatures just to germinate. The source frames this not as a flaw, but as a literal evolutionary weapon. By the time spring finally arrives, Sweet Cicely has already outcompeted the other plants. In fact, research shows the essential oil concentration in the leaves actually gets stronger after frost exposure. Section 2. A centuries-old remedy. The source explains that long before we had laboratories to synthesize sugar substitutes, highly educated figures all across Europe relied heavily on Sweet Cicely. Back in the 14th century, medieval monks used it to sweeten porridges when cane sugar was rare and just unbelievably expensive. By 1597, the famous botanist John Gerard documented its benefits for the stomach and heart. And later in the 17th century, Dutch apothecaries were blending its seeds to create digestive bitters. It was just a daily staple for everyday sweetness and health. And you know what's cool? Modern research cited in the source material backs up these historical uses beautifully. A 2018 pilot study found that drinking Sweet Cicely infusions actually reduced post-meal digestive discomfort by 40%. It acts as a carminative, which means its volatile oils relax the smooth muscles of the digestive tract. Plus, it contains these powerful anti-inflammatory flavonoids like synthol and quercetin that actively suppress inflammatory pathways. So it's a sweetener that genuinely acts as medicine. Section 3. The Rise of Big Sugar. Now you might be wondering, if this plant is so amazing, why don't we all know about it? Well, the source outlines a massive historical shift. It started during the Napoleonic Wars when British blockades totally cut off cane sugar supplies. In response, Napoleon subsidized the industrialization of beet sugar. And thanks to new technologies, the price of refined sweeteners plummeted by over 70%. By the mid-20th century, high-fructose corn syrup was globally subsidized, perfectly coinciding with the rapid climb of global obesity rates that we started seeing in the 1970s. According to the source, the market logic here was pretty brutal. I mean, why grow a complex plant that wilts after harvest when you can just pour cheap white powder out of a bag? The food industry and culinary schools entirely redefined what sweetness was supposed to be: neutral, industrially clean, and infinitely shelf-stable. They basically abandoned the complex vanilla profile of Sweet Sicily because it required a local garden-to-table food system, which was the exact system industrial agriculture was busy dismantling.
Fast forward to today, and the global sugar and artificial sweetener industries are together valued at over $50 billion annually. It is a massive, highly centralized economic engine.
And the source points out that this massive industry has a singular financial incentive to maintain the status quo. With aspartame production exceeding 10,000 tons a year and sucralose hiding in over 4,500 supermarket products, the argument here is that the industry's main goal is to ensure your only access to sweetness comes strictly through their patented, highly processed chemicals.
In fact, to quote the source directly, they frame this historical shift very pointedly. They say, that system was not replaced because something better was discovered, it was replaced because something more profitable was invented. It's a really powerful statement, arguing that the loss of Sweet Sicily wasn't a nutritional upgrade for consumers at all, but purely a triumph of profitability over public health.
Section 4, Growing Your Own Sweetener. The really incredible news here is that you can actually cultivate this plant yourself, and it requires almost zero ongoing effort. You literally just plant the seeds, which cost about $2, by the way, in autumn if you live in hardiness zones 3 through 8. Then you just let the winter freeze do the heavy lifting of cold stratification naturally right there in the ground. Seedlings pop up in the spring, and once it's established, you can start harvesting its leaves as early as February.
So, the crucial point here is the plant's incredible versatility. Every single part of the plant is edible. You can use the leaves in stewed fruit to cut added sugar by up to 75%, or use them to make a digestive tea. You can chew the green seeds raw for this amazing natural vanilla and anise flavor. You can chop the stems up like celery, and you can even boil the roots like parsnips. It's just an absolute powerhouse of a plant that offers what a supplement aisle would charge a premium for.
The source wraps up by highlighting the ultimate Sweet Sicily advantage. It is completely legal, unpatented, and totally unrestricted. It thrives easily in shaded borders or containers, it actively reduces inflammation while providing powerful antioxidants, and it gives you a reliable annual harvest for literally decades. It basically gives you the option to completely bypass a $50 billion industry with a simple fern.
Which leaves us with a highly provocative final thought, drawn straight from the source. With this forgotten secret finally revealed, and the true cost of industrial sweetness laid bare, will you keep relying on synthetic, patented sweeteners, or will you plant a seed, let winter do the work for you, and reclaim a centuries-old tradition? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this sparked your curiosity just as much as it did mine.